The question I have this evening, will this tablet on my left, depending on how you view this video, will replace this conventional laptop on the right? Hi folks, this is CG of CG Computers and Electronics, and that's today's question. And I'm going to answer it according to my perspective, and that perspective is no. And the reason why I say no is because tablets have a limited amount of storage, amount of processing power, and a limited amount of graphics capability to render, let's say, if you want to edit videos and upload them to YouTube. You may, if you're going to edit complex, long videos, then a tablet is not for you. Even if you have an external hard drive or an external SD card that's connected to your tablet, it'll take such a long time, and it's just really not worth the extra effort to use a tablet to edit video. I'm sure there's ways that you can do it, but from my limited knowledge, I would say no, a tablet's not a good idea. Just get a laptop and do all that work for you. And some of these applications require internet access, mainly the Google Chrome books or tablets that run on Google Chrome software or those Google Chrome desktops, which require internet access all the time. Whereas you can use this conventional laptop offline and not have to worry. And I forgot to include desktop because of my workbench area is limited in space, but I'll put that in the category for this video presentation. Even laptops have its limitations as well because of the hardware limitations based on the processing power, the memory, the graphics. Most graphics on laptops are usually hardwired into the motherboard. Very few laptops come with its own video card that I'm aware of. And when that component goes, let's say if your video goes on a laptop, you pretty much have to replace the motherboard. Or if you have one of those graphics card that has, laptop that has a expandable graphics card or removable graphics card, if something happens to the video, all you have to do is just simply replace that graphics card that's in the laptop. And that can be expensive and difficult depending on your make and model. If you're a repairman like myself, it could be tedious work to get those components out and replace. So a desktop may be the next viable solution to render more complex video, graphics, and music capabilities. But you should always ask yourself before you buy these products, what am I looking to do? What goals I'm looking to accomplish in getting my computing needs done? Do I want to print from these devices? Which is another question now that I'm going to answer for you. When you do buy a printer and you want to print from your tablet, make sure that the printer is compatible with the software that's already available for your printer. And I noticed when I used to set up printers with tablets, I had a very difficult time getting Android devices to talk with the Wi-Fi printers that I set up because they mainly make their applications specifically geared towards the Apple user. And then Apple does make life a little bit simpler with their tablets and smartphones to set up printers on, to print emails and to print documents from their mobile devices. So make sure when you buy a printer, it's compatible with the tablet. And if you can't get it to install, just call a service tech that has knowledge and that has the experience to install it for you and test it out and implement it onto your home or office network. So that's pretty much it for this video presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comment section below. I'll make more videos in the future, as well as any updates to this channel. Thanks again for watching and have a nice day. Okay, just to add on to my last video, and in particularly with editing graphics and video and music, what kind of hardware to look for to accomplish your goals. And also gaming. I meant to include that in the last video. Gaming is I won't say new phenomenon. It's been around for a while. But as the games get more complex and more graphics intensive, you're going to need very good hardware in order to run it. Don't expect to run any of these latest games that requires a great amount of processing power, memory, and storage on a cheap device or a cheap laptop or a cheap desktop, because it's just not going to work right. And you're not going to be satisfied with the performance, and their system will crash frequently if you run that particular game. So keep in mind the limitations on these devices. If you're going to be playing games on it, running graphics programs such as Adobe, music production, if you're using Apple, such as what's that software, Final Cut Pro or GarageBand, make sure you have enough memory and decent graphics card built into the unit, or add it if you're using a desktop unit, so that the machine is capable of processing the data that's being passed through the computer. If you, like I said, use cheaper hardware, you're not going to get the performance that you need. And make sure if you custom build your system, make sure you put in a decent power supply, decent wattage, and a decent quality power supply, because that's another thing that a lot of technicians miss, is that they put these cheap power supplies into these computers and they expect to get high performance to save their customers money. Yeah, you will save them a few dollars up front for like the first year or two, depending on how they use it. But in the end, it's going to cost them. So like that old saying, I believe it was Judge Judy that made this saying, the cheap becomes the expensive later on. And that is true. Don't be cheap on your equipment. Don't be cheap when you're building it, and don't be cheap when you're purchasing it. You may have to spend a little extra money to get performance. Unfortunately, that's how it is. It's how it is with life. You got to put more money into something if you want something better or better performing. So if you're to get back to my point with the graphics and the video and the music and games, if you're gonna use an Intel-based system, use like an i7 or better, say like an i7 or Xeon processor. Make sure if you do get a Xeon, make sure you use both of the processors, and make sure all cores are active on the processor, and make sure you have a decent amount of RAM if you're going to build a Xeon system, and a good graphics card as well, or multiple graphics card, combine them into this one giant video card memory capability for greater video performance. But be prepared to spend some extra cash on it if you're going to use it for graphics and gaming and music production. And if you use, let's say, AMD, which I don't particularly recommend, make sure it's more than 8 cores. If you're using a single processor, if you're using a dual processor system, make sure it's 8 cores or better. The newest AMD processor that I'm aware of has at least 16 cores, and I think the processors run about $400 or $500. They're pretty expensive, and it's a single socket, which is not bad for an AMD, but you know, I have my issues with them. But if that's all you could afford to build your system, then you know you got to go where your budget is. But just don't, like I said, don't go cheap on these components and expect high performance from them when you cut corners. So this is just a little something I wanted to add on to my last video. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, just leave it in the comment section below. Until then, take care.